You know what's great about movies? There are actual release dates going into the fall and holiday of 2019 already, and it's only February. So I think that we can look ahead and get a clear idea of all the awesome movies coming your way in 2019, unlike games which we might have to wait until June to actually get some release dates. So let's talk movies today. Hey, what's going on? This is Ramakrishnan. If you're new around here, welcome to the channel. Now, on a regular basis, about 1 or 2 videos a week, they are all about gaming. That's what my video content is. I'm a huge gamer and video games are my thing. But I also really enjoy TV and movies. And this year looks to be a really stellar year for movie releases. I was just looking ahead at all of the movies coming out in 2019, and there are some awesome looking sequels, remakes, reboots, and brand new IPs to film that I'm super excited for. And I'm sure many of you are looking forward to them as well. And without further ado, let's dive right in. These are my top 10 most anticipated movies of 2019. I've never been a huge fan of horror movies, at least in comparison to the usual action-packed blockbusters that I choose to watch instead. Jordan Peele's directorial debut with 2017's Get Out earned him so much attention and awards alike. So much so that I honestly regretted not watching it. Since then, I've definitely come to appreciate more films and horror movies as well in that, and I was blessed to be shown it for free in a college film genres class. Representing suspenseful thrillers, my professor put on Get Out, and I was honestly blown away. I found that Peele had a great direction, very compelling. The story was so unique and exciting. The narrative was perfectly paced, always keeping me both interested and emotionally invested, and always pretty scared as well. Now this year, Jordan Peele returns with another film called Us. It's coming out pretty soon and it looks really good, with a group of strangers interrupting a nice family getaway. This story looks like it's going to be very thrilling. The debut trailer for Us, using the song I Got 5 on it in a uniquely remixed manner, really had my attention, coupled with the scary premise of doppelgangers and some great actors and actresses to boot. I think that Us looks great. I'm surprisingly very much so looking forward to this horror film for its release at the end of March. When it comes to great animation in films, few can ever come as close to the sheer quality and rightful recognition as Pixar's Toy Story does. And the original right now has been out for 24 years, which is kind of shocking to me, someone who was not even born when it came out, and changed the film industry for years to come. I personally love most of Pixar's work. Their craft is as good as people say, but in that catalog of great classics, it is always in fact Toy Story that is my favorite. Toy Story 1, 2, and 3 sort of are tied right now because I haven't watched them in so long, but just Toy Story in general. And now a 4th is on the way, and I'm really excited for it. There is just something about that trilogy that makes them incredibly rewatchable and delightful. Whether it is all of the well-acted stars, including of course Tim Allen and Tom Hanks as Buzz and Woody respectively, or the emotional weight that the stories of all 3 films have executed over the last couple of decades, all in extremely great manners. Releasing in June, Toy Story 4 will be seeing a very personal narrative, focused heavily on Woody's journey, post-Andy, and now with Bonnie, with Keegan-Michael Key and the aforementioned Jordan Peele on board, and the return of many iconic and lovable favorites like the aforementioned Woody and Buzz. I have no doubt that this long-awaited sequel will be providing lots of great laughs, heartfelt moments, dynamic and impressive as always characterization of the toys, and of course, a delightful story overall.
In the vacuum of space, they cannot hear you scream!
When it comes to iconic gaming franchises that I've loved for years and continue to do so, Pokemon always hits home. I've been a big fan of the RPG series for quite some time, even dabbling in the odd spin-off many times. One that I've never given the time of day to is the 3DS title, Detective Pikachu, almost certainly because it came to the 3DS after the Switch was already in my hands. Now, I honestly don't care that much to try this surprisingly unique game, however, the film adaptation is a different story. This strange but delightful, if not at times terrifying, take on Pokemon with CG creatures blended in the live-action world makes me oddly really excited for Pokemon Detective Pikachu. This film, set to release in May, has gotten my attention a whole lot. Detective Pikachu's most exciting factor is, of course, just simply seeing the Pokemon living in the real world, something we would all love to have in real life. This is pretty unique, and of course it could easily be a flop, but I also have this feeling that it might potentially turn out good, unlike so many other video game movies. Ryan Reynolds is the voice of Pikachu, and that is kind of hilarious and weird at the same time, but I love it thanks to how much I actually really enjoy Ryan Reynolds, and Pokemon in general. And it might be a funny, bizarre, and memorable adventure and take on the iconic gaming franchise.
So you're a talking Pikachu with no memories who's addicted to caffeine.
I could stop whenever I want. These are just choices. Another round, extra shot, black as night. Thank you, sweetie.
I love me a good DC comic book adaptation to live action. I have been a proponent of the Arrowverse for years now, still finding great pleasure in keeping up with the shows. And I love many of the animated films and shows from DC, like Justice League, and of course, more so, Justice League Unlimited. Now, the 2017 film itself, Justice League, is maybe not the same, but even with the second viewing, not more than a few months ago, I still found myself enjoying that film. Right now, the DCEU is of course all over the place. I mean, for starters, it's not even called the DCEU. Technically, isn't it supposed to be Worlds of DC? Now that's not that good. Nor are the stories. Every other day, as it seems, that actors are leaving, movies are being greenlit and then canceled, and lists of DC films set to come out every year inevitably get pushed or canceled. One thing that is for sure is that Shazam will be out in April. It is kind of surprising that we're getting this movie, and it's coming out really soon. This film, in my opinion, looks really good. I'm actually feeling pretty confident. So here's why. Shazam looks like it has great personality. I can tell it is going to be a bit delightful and funny and fun, unlike a lot of the other things that DC has done as of late. Zachary Levi has always seemed like a great casting for Billy Batson. The trailers show something that is undoubtedly going to be a really entertaining time. I think that there is a chance that DC and Warner Bros. Have learned that the absurd darkness of their early DCEU films is not necessarily the way to go. I personally enjoyed Wonder Woman a lot and loved Aquaman, and now Shazam has me feeling great again. I'm actually confident in it being something entertaining and fun when it comes out this spring.
You have bullet immunity!
I'm bulletproof.
You're dead.
Sorry about your window, but you're welcome for not getting robbed.
Oh, hey, what's up? I'm a superhero.
There's no doubt that the newest wave of Star Wars films has been a little divisive. Now, I personally missed out on Solo: A Star Wars Story and was told by some that I didn't miss anything too important, yet others told me it's a pretty fun movie that I should check out. I thought that Episode 8, The Last Jedi, was good. Not amazing, but not a terrible film. I enjoyed it, but also not as much as the predecessor, The Force Awakens. Oh yeah, and there was also Rogue One, which was alright. But I loved 2015's Star Wars Episode 7, the film that brought the franchise back to the big screen in all of its glory. Now, with the trilogy coming to an end this winter, there is a whole lot riding on Episode 9. At the time of writing, Star Wars Episode 9 has no subtitle, but we all know it will. Many things have me excited for this film, and I'm sure that most of you would say the same to some extent. Like I said, I thought that Force Awakens was excellent, and I'm glad to see J.J. Abrams return to the helm for the direction of this trilogy closer. I've come to really enjoy the cast of the new trilogy for the most part, even though there were some glaring flaws, of course, in some of them in their stories. But it's hard not to be optimistic and equal parts ecstatic for Episode 9. I feel like I can't say that much more, and that is just because there is a lack of solid details or even a trailer out there right now for this Star Wars film. However, Episode 9 is scheduled to release at the end of December, and it should do everything from answer our long-running questions about Rey and her past and present alike, to what prominence the classic actors and actresses may have in this enthralling world, and where the story goes from here. Episode 9 may very well have the least information about it in comparison to the rest of the movies on this list, but oh boy is it still extremely exciting.
I need someone to show me my place in all this.
Aside from the Marvel Cinematic Universe, I honestly believe that my favorite film franchise right now is The Fast and the Furious. I have rewatched these movies constantly, and I look forward to doing again very soon. And while I would be more excited for the next true sequel, let's call it Fast and Furious 9, this year's spin-off still looks absolutely ridiculous in all of the very best ways possible, and I can't wait. A late summer blockbuster to keep on your radar, Fast and Furious Presents Hobbs and Shaw will be out this coming August. I'm very hyped. Like I alluded to prior, I love movies that have a lot of action, as well as those with a lot of comedy. Universal Studios' franchise certainly boasts both, and continues to expand upon these factors more and more, especially the former. Hobbs and Shaw are great characters, both great for action movies, and they have really awesome chemistry together, so I have no problem with them coming together in a film like this. I love Dwayne Johnson and his role as Luke Hobbs, depicting everything that his caricature in film stands for. That basically is like a superhuman, and speaking of which, the villain in this spin-off is exactly that. Yes, they are going there. Idris Elba, who is another actor which I love, I think he's really cool. He literally says he's the bad guy. Elba's character is seen in this trailer, effectively turning into a superhuman with powers, and it looks pretty awesome, as does literally everything about this film. Now, I'm not expecting deep writing and innovative moves for the industry at all for Hobbs and Shaw, but I don't really care about that stuff when it comes to a movie like this. The debut trailer showed us so many awesome sequences of action, crazy things happening, and just more and more action galore. It's all very exciting, and it looks hilarious. I also do love the chemistry, like I said, that Johnson and Statham have developed. So I think that this is going to be a super fun and entertaining summer movie for sure. One of my favorite action movies of the last few years is John Wick. The 2014 film was full of some of the best action in the medium as far as I'm concerned. Stylish fighting scenes, brilliantly choreographed, and endless action made it a true joy to watch for me, having seen it more than a couple of times now. And while John Wick's tight-knit story of the first movie is blown up in the sequel, John Wick 2 is still basically just as awesome. In fact, what the sequel did do even better is give viewers context of a living, breathing world that they have created in these films, making that of John Wick much more than a man who wanted revenge for the theft of his car and the murdering of his dog. Now returning this year to create a trilogy out of it, Keanu Reeves is back as John Wick, and I have so much excitement for this film. I think that Reeves is a great actor for films like these. The Continental assassination of Santino D'Antonio left John Wick with a massive price on his head at the end of the previous film. Of course, this is a world of assassins, and now I'm really looking forward to seeing what life will be like post John Wick 2 for the character. John Wick Chapter 3, Parabellum, should see him fighting in the city as well as trying to fight his way out of it. He'll have assassins galore after him, and this will definitely result in a bunch of thrilling sequences of fighting and escaping hitmen and women alike, and it should be a lot of fun. I think that the world of the Continental is getting really interesting and super cool, and I love the first two films, so I have no doubt in mind that John Wick Chapter 3 will be a huge deal for me when it releases this upcoming May.
Sophia, we're not going in like the old days. Just a conversation.
Nothing's ever just a conversation with you, John.
Another year, another new character introduction to the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Now, 2018 was obviously revolutionary with Ryan Coogler's Black Panther. The February release stuck with moviegoers and the film industry as a whole for the entirety of the year, going even into the Oscars right around now. While Captain Marvel may not be the revolution that Black Panther was, I am comparing it because I love Marvel's take on individual characters, new characters, and how they introduce and expand them into the greater narrative. Captain Marvel may, however, do something impactful, in it being the first female-led movie of the franchise after 11 years. This film looks quite good, even removing the fact that it is something new and different in the MCU. I think the trailers have gradually caught my attention and held on to it for more and more, leaving me very excited for this. Captain Marvel has so many things going for it. all of which help culminate my belief that this will be yet another success story under the belt of Marvel Studios and their franchise of the MCU. For starters, back to the female aspect, it is big. It shouldn't be so shocking in 2019, but it is less common than it should be. But Brie Larson looks amazing for this role. I think that she really has the acting chops and looks like she's going to be a great Captain Marvel. I feel like she has energy and persona, all making this character great, and frankly, I think it'll be a solid fit for the MCU. Captain Marvel's cast aside from Larson, who like I said seems great, also has me excited in general, with faces like Samuel L. Jackson and Jude Law, as well as Clark Gregg, returning as Phil Coulson after all these years. I'm pretty excited to see these characters, new and old alike. But Samuel L. Jackson is probably going to be another show stealer, as usual, because he is just awesome. Nick Fury is just one of the best characters in the franchise, and I think that his past story is going to be very fleshed out here, making this movie even better for what it is. All the space traversal and the action in there, and the unique approach to bringing the 90s to life in 2019, and fun new characters and stories for the MCU all have me extremely excited to see what Captain Marvel is all about.
You know how to fly this thing?
We'll see.
That's a yes or no question.
Yes.
Bringing the ever-growing and shifting list of my favorite superheroes down to just one is damn near impossible. But after playing a lot of Marvel Spider-Man last year and seeing the recent excellent iterations of the character on film, it is really hard not to declare Spider-Man as my favorite superhero above all else. 2017 Spider-Man Homecoming was honestly my favorite of the character's film adaptations, and I do have very fond memories of Raimi's trilogy for sure. I think that once Marvel Studios got their hands on the rights to the webhead, they really nailed it with the character of Spider-Man and of course as Peter Parker. After 3 film roles being Civil War, Homecoming, and Infinity War, all doing excellent with the character, I'm stoked for the next true sequel, Spider-Man Far From Home. The film is scheduled to be out this summer, and it will likely play a role for viewers as Ant-Man and the Wasp did post-Infinity War, but this time with Spider-Man coming after Endgame, a movie with a much lighter tone. But what happens in Endgame besides the inevitable resurrection of characters like Spider-Man himself is anyone's guess. But no matter how it ends, we still have much to look forward to with Far From Home, as it is the following summer blockbuster for Marvel. I thought that the trailer was super good, looking like a whole lot of fun. For starters, the casting of Tom Holland as Peter Parker was always great, so seeing him return it once again with his high school experiences being fleshed out and being very funny and relatable is pretty awesome. And his supporting cast of his friends like MJ and Ned and Flash as well are all back, meaning there will be a lot more fun banter and probably, once again, feasible side stories for teenagers and high schoolers to actually get behind, making Peter Parker and his friends and supporting cast extremely relatable, something that Marvel just continues to do so well with. And of course, the new suits here look stunning. The Elementals and Jake Gyllenhaal's Mysterio look kind of awesome as well. I'm actually really excited to see what Gyllenhaal brings to the table. I foresee Mysterio being a trickster, looking for good publicity in the world of superheroes by creating those elemental beings and fighting them down himself. I think that Mysterio is really cool, and I don't know much about the villain, so I'm excited for that. And overall, Far From Home just looks like a lot of fun, and it should be another fresh and entertaining, yet equally heartfelt take on the stories of Spider-Man and Peter Parker and his place, his rightful and amazing place in the MCU.
Who is that guy?
He's like Iron Man and Thor rolled into one.
He's no Spider-Man.
What is it with you and Spider-Man?
What, he looks out for the neighborhood, has a dope suit, and I really respect him. Sup, dickwad?
Real quick, before I get to number 1 on this list of the movies that I'm the most excited for coming out in 2019, I'm just going to give you guys a few honorable mentions.
You really don't know who I am. Genie, wishes, lamb, none of that ringing a bell.
I protected her.
From the truth?
I didn't realize that you were lying.
Let me get mine. Damn, you back here having a knife fight? Oh, hell no, I shot him.
It was always going to be Endgame. From the day that Marvel Studios declared that there would be a sequel to Avengers 3. Probably before they even called it quits on the titles of Part 1 and Part 2. Endgame was always going to be my most anticipated movie of the year it came out. It was always going to be my most anticipated movie of 2019. Not just because of the event that it was, or the conversation around me in every corner of my life last spring and summer was Infinity War, my favorite film of 2018, hands down, but I genuinely loved it. I've been such a big follower of the franchise from the beginning, having gotten more and more into the MCU over the years. I have every intention of viewing over 20 films in the lead up to April 26th, as I have done previously a couple of times. That Friday, it is going to be an event, a spectacle, a true moment in film history. Kevin Feige and Marvel Studios, alongside plenty of amazing directors, actors and actresses, and talented people all around them, have put forth so much effort in establishing the world of the MCU, and this ending to Phase 3 will be an end of an era in many ways. Whether or not all of the original Avengers perish, or nobody dies, there's no way that Avengers Endgame does not have repercussions and big effects on what the films of the franchise will do and look like after it. I have no reason, not in the slightest, to not be ecstatic for this film, knowing the sheer spectacle of a film, narratively, technically, visually, and emotionally, that Infinity War was, in addition to the absolute excellence in the predecessors from the same directors, in the form of Captain America Civil War and Captain America Winter Soldier prior to Infinity War. Anthony and Joe Russo really understand how to direct a quality film for the franchise. They really understand Marvel Studios and their goals. They really understand these characters and how to tell amazing stories about them. And I know that Endgame will be hitting us all very hard in some way, shape, or form. Right now, at the time of writing, marketing has shown us but 2 trailers, one of them just a quick Super Bowl spot, and none of them actually showed any action yet. But so many people around me, and myself included, lovers of action and believers in how action really does enhance hype for movies like this, have not one issue with the lack of that. I don't mind that there hasn't been any action sequences. In fact, I'm more interested and more excited based on the emotional weight that the trailers have shown us. We have not seen too much, but we've already seen enough as far as I'm concerned. I didn't even need a trailer. Let's be honest, Avengers Endgame could come out with no marketing besides the fact that it actually exists, and I know it would be an instant success, both commercially and critically. I don't think anything else needs to be said right now about this epic conclusion to the story so far of the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Plain and simple, April 26th cannot come soon enough.
This is gonna work, Steve.
I know it is. Because I don't know what I'm gonna do if it doesn't.
Alright, so that is the end of the list, end of the video, guys. You made it and you heard all about my movies that I'm the most excited for in 2019. But of course, I need to know yours. Let me know all your thoughts in the comments below. And if you guys like this video, maybe consider hitting that subscribe button if you're new around here. It really helps me out. So thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed, and hopefully I will see you guys all in the next video.